happiness and success are two different things.
I just feel like they don't need to be separate things. We just need to define success more holistically. It's wiser to reach out to the hearts than to only reach out for the stars.
Do you notice any kind of pattern among them? Like, these are top 2 or 3 skills which make somebody as a successful partner.
Intelligence, pedigree can get you into consulting.
Yeah.
It's resilience and reliability coupled with trust that keeps you in the room.
Have you ever had a moment where you thought that this journey to partnership is really harder because I'm a woman?
Never. I don't think excellence has a gender bias, so neither should expectations.
A lot of times stress comes out not because we're working harder, because somewhere we're not aligned.
That's 100% correct. The disconnect happens and then happiness comes when there is no alignment. So the alignment between the heart and the mind is, I think, is the crux of it.
Consulting is high impact, high growth career. Roughly 40 to 45% women join consulting workforce, but eventually around 20% women reach senior leadership level positions or partner level positions. Journey to partnership is never easy for anyone. But today we have a leader who has successfully navigated this journey. Pallavi Malani, Managing Director and Partner at Boston Consulting Group. So please help me welcome Pallavi Malani. Pallavi, we are really privileged to have you here today on our show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure.
No, thank you so much. And I have been following your posts on LinkedIn, and that's how I got motivated that I should reach out to you. You have been sharing so much wealth of experiences with the larger audience. Then why not come to our podcast and share your learnings and experiences with the larger audience? So that was the motive, and finally it's happening. I'm really happy to have you here.
Oh, I'm so glad that someone's reading my LinkedIn post. Honestly, I'm a very private person.
Yeah.
And last year I decided that, I should get a bit more out there and share some learning, some experiences in a more authentic way and learn back. So that was the motivation to start. And then I got so much, encouragement from people like you. So I have just continued.
No, thank you so much, because a lot of times, a lot of leaders are working so hard and they have so much wealth of experience. And our younger generation is looking to get that mentorship, that guidance from the leaders. And our podcast is also one of the platforms where we want to bridge that gap. And that's what brings us here. And now, before we dive deep into your consulting journey, I really want to understand, what was your childhood dream? Because nobody wants to become a consultant during when they're growing up. And even I don't think it was a profession back then. So what was your motivation?
You're absolutely right. Long before I knew the word consulting, I was a very little shy girl growing up in a joint family in Calcutta, a traditional Marwari family.
Yeah.
I was the youngest amongst a whole host of brothers. So extremely pampered and extremely loved. I always did academically well, but I was very lucky that my parents exposed me to a very wide host of other extracurriculars and activities. So I trained very extensively in Bharatnatyam. I did my Arangetram, and at some point I wanted to become a dancer. I was extensively into art and craft, and at some point I wanted to become write the NID exam and actually become an industrial designer. So I explored a host of careers till I started gravitating more towards economics. And I decided I want to go study economics at St. Stephen's College. There's a very fun story there because
Go ahead.
because my when I told my dad and my parents and the extended family that I wanted to go study in Delhi, that we have perfectly good colleges in Kolkata. Why do you need to go out? And how can we send our little girl all the way to Delhi? So literally I had to go on a bhook hartal to convince my dad. And since then there's been no looking back. I don't think I ever had a dream of becoming a consultant. As you rightly said, no one really dreams of that. So, life just came along and gave opportunities, and, I said yes to some and no to some. And here I am now 16 years later. But honestly, as I look back, I don't have, any regrets, and I'm very satisfied with how things played out. So maybe sometimes it isn't about chasing a big dream. It's just about growing in the flow of what life gives you.
That's beautiful. And I was never aware about the creative side of yourself, and like all of us have that self, but because in consulting we don't get enough time to pursue our passions and other interests. But it was really interesting story that how you eventually landed up in consulting, and now you spent around 15 years in consulting, so I assume that you really enjoy what you do, and now you've reached that pinnacle in the consulting, because anybody who stays in consulting wants to eventually become partner, and that's the end motivation. And now having accomplished that, you might see that there are a lot of successful partners within your organization or outside. Do you notice any kind of pattern among them, like these are top 2 or 3 skills which make somebody as a successful partner?
Yeah. So I think that intelligence pedigree can get you into consulting.
Yeah.
It's resilience and reliability coupled with trust that keeps you in the room.
Yeah.
And why am I saying that? Resilience, because if someone doesn't give up, you can't beat that person. And consulting needs a lot of resilience. Like I remember it was literally learning by fire, because first week into consulting, I was asked to, go to a steel plant, which I knew nothing about, in another country, which I knew nothing about, and save cost. And I was sent alone. So you automatically develop the resilience. Of course, we had the benefit of a lot of wealth of knowledge the company already has. Colleagues were extremely helpful, and then just some resilience to kind of find your way around. And that itself taught me that the only way to play this game is when you're completely resilient, because you're faced with new problems, new industries, new clients, new problems, and things will not always go your way. So the only way to survive is resilience, curiosity to show up every day. The second, which is reliability. I was once, a few years ago, I went and asked a lot of my clients for feedback. And I think consistently what I heard was, the reason we work with consultants is because, yes, it's given that you all will bring the intelligence and the industry knowledge and all of that. But we want reliability, and that's what we are paying for, that if we give you something, you will get it done. And hence, to stay in the game, you have to be reliable, because that's what clients really are at the end of the day buying. And lastly, it is a people's business, whether it's with our clients or it's with our teams. And so trust becomes the foundation. If you have trusted relationships with your clients or with your teams, that keeps you going. Net, a partner is, as someone once told me, is like a mongrel. You just have to be resilient, hungry, curious, always willing to learn, and that will keep you going. So that's what makes a successful, I think, partner in consulting.
No, beautifully said. Like even I totally concur with that statement, that resilience is tested every day in consulting, because you're having so many different challenges. When you started, you mentioned about your story that initially you were sent to a steel plant. So you had to really, did you feel that there was a space created for you and you were kind of easy to get accommodated with the new culture of consulting, or you had to create your own space initially?
See, consulting always comes with a certain culture. And everyone kind of gets molded into that culture. It's very well set up across all tier 1 and other consulting firms. Having said that, I think every person in any job needs to create their own niche and space. Otherwise, you can get lost, in the larger crowd. For me, that moment came when I realized that, I need to create my own space and niche when I actually was getting engaged. And we had an engagement party in Calcutta, and I remember sitting at the salon getting ready with my laptop trying to make slides. And it was 1 hour to go. And my mother was livid with me. And that night when, everything went well and all of that, and I came back home and I was reflecting, I just thought that, that moment did not need it. And that if someone wants to play the long game in consulting, it's like playing tennis. You need to play the percentage game. You need to know, where and what you need to do. So I realized that I can't fall into the rat race, that I need to create my own way of working and my own niche. And then what I did, as I said, I am a data junkie. So, I actually stepped back and looked at all the other leaders in consulting. And I said, what's made person A successful, B successful, C successful. And I realized that everyone's gone down their own path. There's no single formula. So you can very well create your own niche and your own formula of success. And, usually the cultures of the firm are flexible enough with the right mentorship to make that happen. So I think every person does need to create their own niche, and in any career.
Finally, consulting is moving towards the direction where consultants are expected that not only you will give good strategies, good inputs, good analysis, but you work with us and help us steer and deliver those final outcomes which we want to achieve together. Is that something what you see as an evolving model for consulting?
As in, yeah, absolutely. Not just as an evolving model, it's already evolved.
It's already evolved.
So when I joined consulting about 15, 16 years ago, it was very much, strategy led, smaller programs, creating the decks. That has significantly changed, over the last decade itself, where we have moved to very outcome oriented programs, much larger programs where we deliver concrete business results along with our clients. And that model further evolved about 5-6 years ago, where we have a lot of expertise. It's digital tech, data. A lot of our work revolves around that. And hence the teams have become much more multidisciplinary. We are doing even larger, longer programs which are integrated with tech, digital, data, AI. So it's about delivering, using, those underlying capabilities, business results. So the model of consulting has significantly evolved. And the realization for me came when I remember about a few years ago, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, we were doing this program. This was a complex program, had a lot of tech involvement as well. And the teams were working very hard. I was working very hard, but we were not getting to the results. And I remember one of my senior mentors and colleagues tell me that, Pallavi, you need to own the outcome, not the process. Because every time we went, we said, oh, we've done A, B, C, D, E, but we were still not getting the outcome.
Yeah.
And that moment shifted in my mind, where it said that, just owning the process is not good enough. You have to own the outcome. And that's where the outcome orientation comes from.
But when you made that shift, that was a very good insight, that don't focus only on the process, own the outcome. So what did shift, in terms of achieving the results which you are not getting? What did happen at that moment which made you realize that now with this approach I'll be able to get the final better results or the desired outcome? So what was the thought process shift immediately which happened, which resulted into a better outcome? I just want to understand that.
I think that's the mindset shift, where, even if I have tried the 5 steps, I'm not going to give up after the 5 steps. If it means you need to go escalate, if it means you need to try a different approach, if it means we change our solution altogether, if it means we try a different SI partner to help us deliver, if it means we need to do 4 other data partnerships, whatever it takes to get it done, you don't stop at any point. I think that's the difference in the mindset.
So basically it's the cultivating an ownership mindset. Basically eventually you need to own the outcomes, and that's what matters in the world of business or consulting or anywhere. And with that shift, you can quickly get to the final outcome by maybe skipping the process or creating a better process. So rightly said. But have you ever had a moment where you thought that this journey to partnership is really harder because I'm a woman?
Never. I don't think excellence has a gender bias, so neither should expectations. At least that's the philosophy with which I approach it.
Yeah.
And hence, man or woman, the expectations are the same. The context might be slightly different. And I personally don't think, I know the context is different for everybody, but at least in my case, I have never thought that, because I'm a woman, I have to have my journey is tougher, or I have to have a victim mindset. So I never felt like that. But yes, I have some very fun stories of being a woman, and, there are so many meetings where you're the only woman.
Please.
There are so many places where, if you're too aggressive, the client doesn't like it. If you're too soft, you're a woman. human. So, you know, like you have to find the right balance. And there are moments where I have been denied. Like, for example, I once visited a factory years ago.
Yeah.
And I was not allowed to enter that factory because no woman had ever entered that factory. So I was not allowed to enter that factory. So there are many such, you know, experiences which now I look back and I just feel like, you know, it was all part of the learning. But I've never felt that, you know, that makes it harder. I feel women, at least to all the young audiences and women who are watching this, I would highly encourage that, you know, you take it in the right stride and you create the right ecosystem around you to manage the expectations.
No, that's great to hear. That's great to hear. And I also wanted to understand from you, basically you're saying that there are a lot of stereotypes which we are carrying, like people where you are not allowed to enter the factory and there are biases in the meeting. So have you had such certain situation where you thought like you're not being judged properly? Or like any instance you want to share around that?
Yeah. So there are many instances. I think, you know, where you can feel that, you know, I'm not being heard, or the other voices in the room overpower you because you might be more soft spoken. I think like at least the approach I have taken is leave those outside the room. Don't change your authentic self because you come with certain strengths. Women come with certain strengths. Don't change that. And, you know, people may not hear your point once. You can just repeat it a second time. You can repeat it a third time. Just don't give up in making your point. I think that's just the learning. And I think, again, like to all our women audiences, I would just say that, that don't get discouraged with all of these. Find ways of still making your presence felt while being true to yourself.
Sure. No, I think that's important, that you should not give up and eventually let the other person know that your voice is being heard or you have a really something to add.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So no, that's great. Now I also want to understand, like you had this transition, like I think your daughter is 7.
Yeah, she's just going to turn 7.
She's going to just turn 7. So like when you were having your daughter, so during that time, how did you manage the transition?
No. When I look back, of course, I could do many things better for sure. When I was going through this transition, actually what happens with a lot of us as we're going through this journey, these life transitions also coincide with some big events at work. And that's what makes it extremely demanding, right? Like, you know, it's also the time where you're either getting promoted or other things. So it also kind of all just comes together. So it's very important to manage it well at that point in time. I remember one of my mentors. He called me. I had not reached out. He actually called me himself and he said, I have seen this journey for many people. So let me give you, you know, some advice. And his advice was never underestimate the help that you need. So always budget for more. Never be hard on yourself because it's going to be a tough journey. So do not try to judge yourself every day. And try to outsource whatever you can outsource. You only keep the meaningful things to do with your family or your kid. Everything else that can be done by someone else is best done by somebody else. And the last thing he said was, don't be afraid to ask for help. Because more often than not, there will be many in the family, in the friend circle, in the neighborhood and at work who will be willing to accommodate and make it happen. So I think those were very, very good pieces of advice and I still carry it and I try and pass it on to whoever I can. I think that really helped me. The second, in that transition, I think one of the most underrated advice is to choose your spouse well. So my husband is my mentor, my confidant, my friend, my conscience keeper. So, of course, couldn't have done it without him. And we have an equal parenting. So, you know, we exactly know these are the things he needs to do, these are things I need to do. And we have aligned it to our own interests. So, you know, we are all happy doing and dividing and conquering. and a lot of support from my parents and in-laws. They've always been there to step in, help out. They are always just a call away for any SOS situation. So that kind of ecosystem always helps.
So basically, you have created a very beautiful ecosystem of support networks, which really help you to steer through these timings and even be it your husband. So is he also in consulting? Oh.
No, thankfully not.
Thankfully,
that keeps some sanity in the house.
Sanity, as well as at least one schedule is more fixed. Rather, I would say, not.
Actually, one schedule is more fixed, but also the fixed comes with its own challenges. So I prefer my schedule, which is a lot more flexible. So I can come home, visit my daughter in the middle of the day, pick her up from the bus stop sometimes, take her up for play dates, or take her for classes in the middle of a work day. So I honestly prefer my own schedule than his.
No, I understand. And a lot of times you're remote working at home also. So that flexibility is also good to spend time more.
Absolutely.
Because, and in fact, that has been my luxury also, because being part of entrepreneurial journey, I have the flexibility to work from home. And my daughter is 10, but my son is 3. So I get a lot of moments to spend more time with my son, which I didn't get during when my daughter was growing up. Thank you for sharing those real life stories which you had during your journey of consulting. And what do you think in consulting has really been your moment where you think something shifted or transformed within you? Like that moment you talked about where somebody told that own outcomes, but any moment in consulting experience which you think was a transformative moment for you, which transformed you as a person altogether? Maybe a project, or maybe that meeting where you kind of after that you changed as a person.
I don't know if it was one moment, but as you go through the journey of life, and large part of life also revolves around work. So as you go through that journey, you realize at different points in time that that life is not a race. While you're so busy building a life, you're not living it. I think that moment came to me on multiple occasions. Finally, I felt a lot of discomfort with, why am I feeling this difference in what my heart and my brain is telling me? Because my brain always said, you have to work hard. And my heart is telling me, but I need to find a more sustainable way of doing it. So it came multiple times through the journey where I felt, either because of burnout or because of seeing other people around me, seeing other leaders who inspired me to do things differently, where I felt that, I need to find a way where I can live more. I finally read this book.
Which one?
Geeta for teenagers.
Oh, I haven't heard about it.
Yeah, because I tried reading many versions of the Gita and Upanishads and other things to go back to our roots and our philosophy and understand how is life meant to be lived.
Great, that's great.
And finally, I didn't understand any of those complex versions, so I picked up the easier one, which was for teenagers, written in a very lucid way. And once I read that and I started reflecting on what it says, I think that was really the moment of change for me, where I realized what living means and how you can combine it with being ambitious and having a very intense job, but not losing out on the daily moments, the joys of life, the happiness that those bring to you as well, apart from the next promotion and the the next project and the next client and so on and so forth.
So do you have any specific takeaways to share from that book? Like you mentioned about the living those small moments and enjoying the daily sources of happiness in life. But what was something which resonated with you so deeply when you were reading that book, then that kind of transitioned into a learning for you?
Yeah, I think
some quote or something which has stayed with you.
No, a few practices which are very simple. One is just looking at the horizon every day for a few minutes, because it makes you realize how small you are in the grander scheme of things, and that you shouldn't make everything about yourself then. So just looking at the horizon, it keeps you very grounded. The second thing I picked up was time is very fluid. So if I'm in a car and I have the 10 extra minutes, what do I do in those 10 extra minutes? Do I scroll or do I listen to music which calms me down? Do I read something new, or I can while away the time just doing nothing? So how you consciously use that fluidity of time to maximize the small moments of happiness was the second thing. And then I also learned one very interesting word which has stayed with me. We all know multitasking, but multi-thinking. Your mind is always racing. So your mind needs to race in a two-speed world where, of course, it's the next moment and the next moment that you need to think about. There's the next meeting I need to prepare for. After that, I need to send some deck. After that, I need to attend, the next meeting. But at the back of your mind, you are thinking of the long run. So you're thinking about in the next, month I want to do this. This is my long-term goal, and keeping that always at the back of your mind and not letting it get lost in the multitasking mind. I think those were a few things that I learned and kind of adjusted in my life to bring a bit more calm.
No, basically what you're trying to say is that having a larger perspective of life and then bringing it into your daily practice.
Absolutely.
Something.
I think you summarized it very well. Yeah. The horizon gives you the larger perspective, and then you bring it
to
into
the daily
and then
habits
find
and
your
daily actions,
joys and daily habits.
Actions.
Yeah.
No, that's very interesting. Even I'm trying to really, because every year we are evolving. So I'm also trying to identify what are the 5-7 things which I should really focus on, which is my core for my life, be it personal, health, everything. What is and every year it keeps on changing. From a different perspective. So as we continue to evolve, our priorities change and we start learning what really matters.
You're absolutely right. The priorities do really change. The definition of happiness and joy, what it was maybe a decade ago, is very different today. And I'm sure it'll be very different, as we evolve in the journey.
Yeah. And in fact, just because we are into that conversation, and it's a very interesting topic to me also. So in fact, I was listening to somebody, he said something beautiful which has stayed with me. He said happiness and success are two different things. And you need to have two different set of pursuits to achieve both. So something which may make you successful, you need to have different kind of activities or different actions to achieve that. But to become happy is a different pursuit. So don't try to link them always. So, and you may...
I have a slightly different take on that.
Sure, yeah.
Because I feel the definition of successful is very narrowly defined by... just the way we've been maybe brought up or how society defines it. I just feel like they don't need to be separate things. We just need to define success more holistically, which can have all our ambitions, but which can also have, the daily joys, and both need to coexist together. One of the things in that book was, and then what I learned was, it's wiser to reach out to the hearts than to only reach out for the stars.
So
don't only look for the ambition and the next big thing that's going to happen, like the next big promotion or the bonus or whatever else. It's the connections and the hearts which also make a difference, and that made me realize that the definition needs to be a bit more holistic about how we define and look at our life.
No, that's true. And in fact, reflecting back on my journey briefly, here, during my consulting also, I used to work 55, 60 hours, which is part of the norm. And today also, I'm also working almost the same. And sometimes even at weekends also, because it's my own entrepreneurial journey. But still, I feel there's less stress in my life, because for the first time, I think I have an alignment. My emotion, thought and action are aligned in one direction. So that, I think that what you're also somewhat talking about when you were talking about success and happiness together is the alignment. A lot of times stress comes out not because we're working harder, because somewhere we're not aligned with our emotion, our thought, what we want to do something else, but we are doing something else.
I think you couldn't have summarized it better. I think that's 100%. That's 100% correct. The disconnect happens, and then happiness comes when there is no alignment. So the alignment between the heart and the mind is, I think, is the crux of it. I think you summarized it beautifully.
So Pallavi, in consulting, what I have observed that mentorship plays a crucial role in everyone's growth. And even I had a lot of mentors who have really helped me in that journey. And in fact, that really helped me in my entrepreneurial journey as well, to have a certain set of advisors and mentors. So what role has mentorship played for you in terms of you reaching the partner level position, or even just going through those difficult moments in consulting?
I have always believed that in learning, you teach, and in teaching, you learn. So mentorship is that to me, that, when you are able to teach something to someone without that person even realizing that you're trying to teach. I've been extremely fortunate to have some very, very kind mentors who have really hand-holded me through this entire journey, and at different points helped me in many different ways. The only thing about mentorship is that you can't force mentorship. So I've seen a lot of organizations which say, you get paired with this one and, you will become this one's mentor. That is needed because you need to have some structure. Otherwise, if you just leave it free flowing, it may not ever happen. But ideally, mentorship comes from people who you can trust and with whom you can be vulnerable. That's the basis of it. If you're not authentic and you're not vulnerable, no one can coach you or guide you in the right way. So I would always suggest to everyone to try and find mentors or look for mentors whom you can completely trust and be yourself with. I've been very lucky in that journey because I'm constantly on that journey, and I have so many mentors who have helped me and guided me very often. For example, I remember when I became a partner, and what does it even mean to be a partner? Because there is a role change.
What does it mean?
To be a partner means basically you're a trusted advisor.
Trusted advisor.
So it is not just I have this problem, I solved it for a client. I have this situation and I will do these things. That is table stakes. You did that and you have to continue doing that. But does it go beyond that, where you're solving someone's unstated needs? You are their first port of call when they need something. They genuinely trust you for advice which goes beyond the immediate scope of work, business, whatever, for a larger set of issues. That is truly being a partner. That is a journey because it doesn't come naturally. I remember my mentor who literally, was so kind to write down a list of our clients, how I should cover them, what their personalities are, how can you build trusted relationships with them.
Oh, that's great.
And that's not just with clients, but also with teams. Basically, how do you expand the skill set that you have to take it to the next level? And that's absolutely a journey. By no means am I there, and there is a long way for me to go. But that truly is, is mentorship. And I did not even have to ask for this. It was offered to me literally on a platter.
Oh, wow.
When you find such people who guide you through the journey and who know your needs and where you need to improve before you even know them, I think that's where you can find true mentors, and they play a very critical role. So would encourage everyone to look for mentors, actively talk to them, and trust them to guide you in the right way.
So how do we reach out? Because a lot of times you got those mentors on platter, but it does not happen always. So how do we reach out? Should we try out multiple mentors? What's your approach for really seeking somebody who wants to seek mentorship, guidance from various sources? So what would your advice be to them?
Identify the set of people with whom your chemistry gels. That is number one.
Yeah.
Understand if you can trust those individuals and that you can assess, because mentors don't become mentors on day one. You work with
relationship.
them. It's a long journey where
relationship.
you get to know them, you work with them, you then realize that your chemistry gels, you can trust them. So you assess that over a period of time, and then just ask for help. And that is not to say that, will you mentor me? But, I'm facing this problem, can you guide me? And then there is something else. And it also just doesn't work as a one-way street. You also have to give back with empathy, care, understanding their context. checking in, knowing what you can do to ease their life. So I think that's how the relationship develops more organically. Of course, there are structures where people get assigned and, you have mentors, and absolutely they should also be used because they can also provide certain guidance. But I feel like true mentorship is when it happens organically. And it is a two-way street. It's a give and a take.
No, well said. And I think like that's, and now are you also mentoring others because you have been as part of the other side? Now you're giving back to the people who have helped you on the journey?
I'm trying to. As I said, in teaching you learn. So I'm trying to.
Yeah.
But I honestly think I can do a much better job. There are 3-4 kinds which I am trying. So there are, of course, people at work who I'm very close to. I've worked with them for a very long time. And, I try and mentor them to do the in the right way, just the way I receive the guidance and mentorship. So pass it along. The second is working with other entrepreneurs, young startups, trying to mentor and provide whatever expertise and guidance I have to them. And then the third is with young professionals who are not even in our industry or in my firm, but outside, who do reach out. As you said, people are very kind to read my LinkedIn posts, and some people reach out asking for help, and I'm trying to pass it along that way as well by speaking to a set of people, providing any help or guidance that I could. And honestly, there have been many people who've reached out. I have spoken to many of them, and with a few of them, the chemistry just clicked from day one.
Yeah.
So it's actually now evolved to let's meet for coffee and let's catch up. And, they know so much more about me. I know so much more about them. So it kind of organically has developed. So I think that's where mentorship starts.
No, that's great to hear. And then that you're also giving back to the community and to the larger set of audience who you may not be so well connected. We've talked a lot about work, Pallavi. Now we want to understand more about you as a person. Like, okay, you're going through a very tough day. Client meeting was very difficult. Things didn't go as you expected. The proposals were not up to the expectation. Now, how do you reset yourself?
I actually have many ways to unwind. Spending time with my daughter is the best way. It's therapeutic. Doing art, craft, dance, homework, whatever it takes, I think, is my first go-to thing to do. I mean, anyways, to spend time with her, but, it just helps me forget everything else when I'm spending time with her. Then I have this ritual with my husband. Every Friday is date night for us. So, catching up for dinner and, talking about what happened in the week, what worked, what didn't work. And that's also a way to let out, things that didn't go as per plan. And we always try a new restaurant. So it's also a way of, explore new things. So that's a very fun ritual. We've done it for now, literally 20 plus years. So we continue doing that. Then, I think I do go to Bharatanatyam classes.
On a weekly basis.
On a weekly basis. So that really helps me.
That also helps you to de-stress.
Yes. And then when I'm stressed, I sometimes just practice with my daughter because she also goes to the class with me. So that also helps me de-stress. Hitting the gym or running or walking, taking a long walk, just listening to some music, always de-stresses. So that's, a great outlet as well. And now we have the nice Worli promenade. So just go there for a walk, look at the sea. I think that calms me down. And lastly, watching something on OTT every night for 15-20 minutes. Okay. I don't think I can go to sleep without that now.
So, Pallavi, one of the biggest crib in consulting always is that I don't have time. There's no work-life balance. Work-life balance is everyone complains in consulting. And starting from a consultant to a partner, I've seen. Like if you're part of consulting, even a consultant is also cribbing about work-life balance, and same applies for a partner. So how do you create that, and how do you create healthy boundaries so that you can play the long game in consulting?
Consulting is intense. So, as you said, everyone cribs. I also crib. So, there's nothing different there. the healthy boundaries, the word that you used, healthy, I think is the operating word. For me, it's been 2-3 things. I think that's worked, and I'm still on the journey. So now I'm trying to figure out how do I, find more boundaries and the right way of doing it. When I was 1 year into consulting, I was getting up at 2 a.m., checking emails, like literally being all consumed by work because, I want to be a perfectionist. I want to work harder than everyone else. All of that was what I felt. And I remember my husband one day put his foot down and said, this is not happening. You are going nuts in this way. You just don't have emails on your phone. And I had the BlackBerry phone then. And since then I moved to Android. And since then I've always been an Android. And that phone, I don't have emails.
Oh. So yet you don't have emails on your phone?
No, I don't have emails on my phone.
Oh, so that's a great way to kind of mentally set the boundary.
I don't know, great way. It works for me. I mean, there are obviously other parts where people say it's a productivity hack and you should have it and this and that. For me, personally, it helps me just draw the boundary because where I don't know something, I don't know it. And I know that if it's urgent enough, someone will WhatsApp me or email me or will call me. So... and if no one's called me or emailed me, it's not that urgent. I can respond in a few hours when I will check, my emails. So that's one big thing that helps me. So when I'm home, I'm really home and I don't know what's happening outside. The second is I have put blackout zones on my calendar.
What does that mean?
So I will not be available from 7 to 8 p.m. because that's the time I will do homework with my daughter, and my teams know it, and the other colleagues who I work with are also aware of it. So it's not a surprise for them that I'm not available. If you communicate it well in advance and you're able to create those, then I think that helps. Then the difficult part is once you create those, you have to stick to it. You can't give in because there will always be, something else that comes in. And that's where I had originally said you need dynamic prioritization. So there are days that I do give in, but then there are days where, I kind of stick to it and I do say that, I'm sorry, I'm not available. I'll be available after some time. I'll be available tomorrow. Then the other thing that, that helps is I do get up a little early and I take my me time because that's where I feel the balance doesn't come when you don't get your own time, because you're either always with clients or you're rushing or you're going for another meeting or you're with your kids or family. So where is the me time? So I try and find that either early in the morning with a walk or a workout or just some meditation or reading something, and then late in the night while watching OTT. So I think those are the 2 times where I'm able to find that balance and that me time.
So it kind of centers you, in the morning when you're having that me time, it centers you before the emails, the urgent priorities kind of hack the agenda.
Absolutely. So get up in the morning and don't try and look at your phone. I try at least 70% of the times. I do make the mistake 30% of the times. And do whatever that centers you. For me, it could be listening to something, meditating, just hearing Hanuman Chalisa. It can be any of those or, just a walk, for example. So that kind of grounds you and centers you, and you start your day then in a bit more grounded fashion. The last, I think, hack around this is just being very clear in communication with everybody in setting expectations at home, expectations at work, expectations, with friends, whoever's there, to set the expectations that this is when I'm available, this is when I'm not available. Because that usually leads to discontent, and then that leads to the challenge of you're always working and you're never available. Those kind of issues. So I think setting those boundaries with everybody, including at home, and making people aware of this is when I'm there and this is when I'm not there, also helps to avoid that dissonance that sometimes come in, that you're never available. So I think those are the things that have helped.
No, I think that's very interesting. So basically not having emails on phone. So I also did during my entire consulting.
Oh,
so
okay. I found one more person who has
I did it for a couple of days or weeks. Then I realized that I was again having always the temptation to check my phone for the official email also. So then I uninstalled the email app and I never got it installed. So as you rightly said, if someone is really in the urgent need, they would reach out on WhatsApp or call you. So and then secondly, you talked about blackout time. That's really interesting concept. So all of us can really create our zones where we can have that time for ourselves and communicate in advance to our relevant stakeholders, team members, whosoever, so that they do not disturb us. And then the me time in the morning was great idea. And then setting the right expectations across the board is a great way to set good boundaries. So great insights on that. So now we really learned a lot about you as a person as well as a professional. But what do you think the future of consulting looks like? There's now AI coming in, a lot of research, a lot of analysis is being taken over by AI. So where do you see consulting will land in next 10 years? What's your take on that?
To know where it will go, if you look at the past, we started with more strategy kind of work.
Yeah.
We evolved to more implementation, outcome-oriented work. And then we have really evolved to a lot of AI digital tech work combined with business so that you can really create business value. The future is actually extremely exciting. I am very enthused with what's coming in the future because, as you rightly said, there is AI that is coming and that's going to also have its own impact on the consulting industry. Net, I think 3 kinds of changes is what we see.
Yeah.
More expertise led.
Okay.
So while we have our classic consulting teams from campuses who are extremely smart, can solve any problem thrown at them from first principles, we also need more people who are deep experts in pricing, in marketing, in AI, in design, in all different domains. So I think that deep expertise will get even more accentuated as we go forward, and that combined with the classic consulting teams really create the magic. And then with the advent of tech digital AI, of course, those skill sets are a must-have. But I don't think the future is very far where we will literally be having AI agents on, staffed on our teams, literally.
Yeah, as part of your team members.
As part of a team member, like literally like that, right? So we are already in an era where we are leveraging a lot of the AI, and we will very soon be having,
Do you have a
literally, we do have an equivalent of that, and we do use a lot of AI, of course, responsibly and in the right way for the right things. But that all of this really then unlocks productivity for things then that we don't need to do any more very manually or in a very long way. So why I feel very enthusiastic is because then we can actually use all of that capacity to do genuinely good work for our clients. Use that time to simplify the complexity because that's usually the biggest challenge, and deliver outcomes faster. Because we are able to bring in a lot more productivity into the teams. So that's why I feel, the future of consulting is going to be very exciting and will keep us on our toes. We will keep learning. We will keep evolving as it has been. And that's why, looking forward to the next 10 years.
And hopefully it brings more work-life balance, because if the productivity improves, you just focus on the right things, and 40 hours can also deliver the similar or more outcomes going forward.
Yes, absolutely. That could be one of the outcomes as well.
Yeah, so we may have healthy environment, more stress-free environment also in consulting. Now coming to, if somebody who's a 20-year-old professional or young student who is looking to enter into consulting, what are the skills you would think from a futuristic perspective he should really focus on to be a successful person in consulting?
See, 2 parts to that answer.
Yeah.
Either you have very deep expertise in a particular domain and you really stand out, but that comes with experience.
Experience over a period of time.
So if you're a 20, whatever, like a Gen Z basically entering the consulting world, I would say just have the curiosity and the mindset to learn every single day. Everything is evolving so fast. The industry is changing so fast. Technology is changing so fast. So the only thing that can keep you going is just having the right mindset to be curious, show up and learn. I think that's the skill set that, the curiosity to learn is the skill set that I would recommend all the Gen Zs to have. And in that curiosity, of course, if you find the 1 or 2 domains that really interest you, you can actually then go deep and become deep experts in those.
So that's great. So basically, always have a learner's mindset is very going to be crucial for the future professionals who are going to enter consulting. So that's a very interesting perspective. And now, as we are coming towards the end of this conversation, we would want to have certain rapid fire kind of questions to understand.
Oh my God, now you're putting me,
and reflect
in the
on
hot seat with the coffee.
No, but these are not so challenging also. You've managed so many difficult clients, so I'm sure this is going to be a piece of cake for you. So what is one skill you think a consultant should acquire from day one?
Asking the right questions.
Asking the right questions. So that's great.
Sometimes you think that you need to know all the answers, but the skill is to ask the right questions.
So the real skill in consulting is to ask the right questions. That's great. So secondly, how would your daughter describe you in one word?
Fun.
Fun. So according to her, mama is fun.
I think so because the time I spend with her is a lot of fun, and I think we both enjoy it a lot.
When you go back, you can check with her what is one word you would want to describe, and let's text me back if she says the same thing.
Absolutely.
No, that's great. And in one of your social media posts I was going through, you said like how we spend our days is how we spend our lives. So how do you design your days? Like what is your philosophy or architecture for designing your days?
My philosophy for designing the day is maximizing or optimizing for family and work and myself. So that's my philosophy. And hence, as I said, my day starts with me, merges into work, gets back into my daughter, ends with dinner with my husband, and then again me at the end of the day. That's my philosophy. If I'm able to achieve that, I've got the balance.
So you complete the circle. And what is the one skill you think which you think you have observed is really important but is most underrated in consulting, but according to you it holds immense value?
I think instead of showing off, be open to learn.
Being open to learn. So again, the learning. So basically being always learning. That being curious is the skill. So if you were not a consultant, what would you be?
I would be a designer. I would be an artist or a designer.
So more or less you have that artistic instinct within you that needs to, that is somewhere there with you, and you need to express it.
Somewhere there with me. I need to express it. I'm not doing enough of it, but I would love to, use some of my time to do that.
And what has been your favorite vacation place?
New Zealand.
New Zealand. And so which part of the New Zealand and what did it resonate?
Queenstown.
Okay.
Combination of everything. Lot of thrill because of all the adventure sports that it offers, right from, bungee to skydiving. To a lot of nature and serene places to visit. It was also, the holiday that we took right after our wedding. So I have very beautiful memories from there. So it's one of my favorite places in the world.
Oh, that's great. So New Zealand is one of your favorite places. That's great. And the last rapid fire is, what do you say about the women in leadership? Any myth around that? You want to burst it for all?
Consulting is a great career for women because as you get more senior, you get more flexibility that aligns with career transitions. So it actually gives you a lot more room to navigate. It's a project-based industry. So you don't have to come back to a role. You can come bach to a project. A lot of women don't realize that. They leave consulting, and I honestly feel, each to their own, but at least if you're looking for flexibility and a long-term career, this is actually a very good one.
Thank you so much for sharing your insights, learning and wealth of experiences you have had working on those 80 engagements, across industries and sharing your personal journey also of growth, transitions, as well as reflections around finding happiness and success. So it was really a great conversation, and thank you so much for joining on this podcast. Thank you, Pallavi.
Thank you so much for having me.